Welcome back to part 3 of sending emails using Node.js and GraphQL. And in this part, we are going to be doing the front end part of this project, and we're going to be using React and Tailwind Css as we told. We're going to be in this video. We're going to be doing the React setup. We're going to be using Create React app and setting up React with Tailwind Css, installing Apollo client, creating the client, and setting up all of the stuff, and getting started with the contact form and all those kind of stuff. We might even move the contact form to another part, but let's look into that. We'll do all the setup in this particular video. So if you guys are pretty new to if you guys are new to the series, we're actually building a kind of a mail service using GraphQL and also creating a front end for it. So if you guys have not followed the previous series, I'll leave a link to the previous 2 videos where we did the backend for it using GraphQL and Apollo server down in the description. You guys could also check out the playlist. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up all of this stuff. Let me remove this. So right now I've went one step behind the folder. So I've gone to my desktop, and I'm going to be creating my React app. So I'll say, let me move my microphone, npx create React app, and I'll say send email front end, and this is obviously going to take some time. So once this is done, I'll get back with the video. Okay, can it create a project? Okay, no longer contain capital letters. Okay, send email front end. Let's check if this works. Okay, this is working. So once everything is done, once React has created the project, I'll get back with you guys, and let's do all this setup. Okay guys, so the React app is fully done. I have taken that React folder and opened up in Visual Studio Code. I'll also open up a new Visual Studio Code window and get the backend part opened as well. So in case we have any doubts or how the stuff is being exported, we can actually check it from here. So let me actually go to that, make that full screen. No, let me remove that from being full screen. Let me open this up. Okay, so this is a basic Create React app that we have. So what we'll do is let's delete the source folder and create it from scratch. Source, I'll say index.js, and we need app.js. So let me go to index.js, import from React DOM. I'll say React DOM.render the app which we didn't yet create, but we will. I'll say document.get element by id. We're gonna go to root, and we also import React. Okay, so I'll go to app, and I'll say rfce rafc. It's going to create an app for me using the snippets. So if you guys can download this extension, which is ES7 React Native GraphQL snippets. This is really good. So here I'll say app. I go to index.js, do that, and it's going to import app for me. And if I should say npm start. Okay, I'm not sure why that happened. Let me open up code again. Code 2. Okay, sorry guys, this is not the one. Let me open up. Run at this. Okay guys, so we have imported it. Let me give npm start to get the server up and running again. Let's go to the front end one. Okay, the app is here. So right now let's install Apollo client and set up the client. And then we create a folder called file called client.js, create a new terminal, npm install Apollo client, and we also need Apollo client slash React hooks. Let me just check. It's Apollo slash React hooks. Okay, we need both of these in order to set up the Apollo provider. So I just have the code right next to me so that we can check whether there is an error. If there is an error, I can refer to that and all this kind of stuff. So but at the end of the video, you guys will have the entire code in the description down below, together with the backend and the front end, although we have separated the folders for now. So what we have to do first of all is let's import Apollo client. Okay, I should import it. Install that from Apollo client. We need Apollo client, and okay, HTTP link should be there. From React hooks, HTTP link, and in-memory cache. And let's initialize a client, which is going to be a new Apollo client, and it needs the link and then the cache property, which will initialize here. Link will be equals to new HTTP link, and we pass in the URI, and the URI is going to be the Heroku link here, the API link that we're going to be using. So we actually hosted, no, it's not this. We actually hosted our API onto Heroku, so we should get that link and put it in URI. So if you guys have not hosted it on Heroku, you guys can check the previous video where we will host the API on Heroku. You guys can clone the code, do anything you guys want with that. So it should be YouTube email service. Let's click on open email, open app, sorry. It's taking some time. Okay, right here, let me copy that, open up Visual Studio Code. The URI should be the Heroku app, which we did. Cache will be equals to new in-memory cache. Once that is done, let's open up the Apollo client and pass in link and then the cache. So right now the client is initialized, so we can export the client there, or we can just export const client from here itself. So this is how we initialize the client, and basically this is we should pass this down as context inside of Apollo provider. So there's another step in order to in order to set up the client, which we will do. So basically you need to pass the URI. This is cache, because we need to initialize cache because Apollo server has its own cache. It's something like Redux. Instead of state management using Redux or hooks, you could use Apollo's cache, but there are certain scenarios where you'd also want to use hooks, or basically React hooks, which we are going to be using. So you just pass the link and cache in Apollo client, and the client will be initialized. Let's go to index.js and let's import from Apollo React hooks. We need the Apollo provider, and let's wrap the app component inside of the Apollo provider, and we should pass in the client which we created. So that is coming from the client that we created, which is this, which we are exporting, and then we are taking the Apollo provider and passing the client down, so we can use mutation, use query, and then run the queries and mutations inside of our contact form. So let's go to Google Chrome and check if there's no errors. Let's refresh it. Okay, that is done. So right now let's go ahead to Tailwind CSS and do all the configuration in order to get started with it. Okay guys, so the way we did the Tailwind CSS configuration is different. So let's install Tailwind CSS from first. So I'll just put the links to everything down in the description so that you guys don't get the error. So it should be this for create React app. So the one we used wouldn't work because we have to install something called Krakow or something. So let's install that. Sorry guys. And there's a lot of configuration that we need to do for Krakow or for Tailwind CSS. Maybe if Tailwind CSS can do that automatically when we type a single command, because every time we need to do that. So single command like npm install Tailwind CSS, maybe it can do that. Okay, so Krakow is done. It's installed. Okay, so let's copy this. We should change the scripts, these three scripts, to be Krakow start, Krakow build, and Krakow test. Once that is done, we should create a krakow.config.js, and let's copy this and paste it right here. And right now let's initialize Tailwind CSS. Okay, so it has created a new Tailwind CSS folder for us. Let's copy this purge thing, and then at last we have to import Tailwind CSS. So let's go to index, Tailwind.css. So let's go ahead and check if that works. Okay, that's not working. For Tailwind CSS could work. Maybe it won't work, right? Yeah. Let me just check how I've done it in the project. Go to app.cs. This should be on app.cs. Let's try that. Okay, it's not working. Go to the setup. Everything is done. Not sure why it's not working. Okay, let me start the server from first, because we had changed the commands to be Krakow start from npm start. Okay guys, so as we guys can see, we have configured Tailwind CSS and all those stuff are configured. So right now let's create the contact form. It's going to be very basic. Although we did use Tailwind CSS, we're not going to be making it centered and all this kind of stuff. Let's just have an input form, a text area, and then a button. Let's create a div. Let's have an input, and the input is going to have a class name, and then it's going to have a border, and the border is going to be border gray 300. Let me copy that and paste it, which is going to be replacing it saying text area. And let's make this flex column so it's one below the other. We don't want that to be like that. Let's give it a fixed width of maybe 384 pixels. Okay, let's give it a margin bottom. Let's also create a button saying submit. It's going to be BG blue, and PY is going to be 3 for the Y axis, and text white, which is going to make the text white color. Let's give a margin top of 3, and let's make it kind of a little bit rounded. Let's make it rounded like that. Let's give it a placeholder, enter your email, message, and then we have the submit button. Let's also give it some padding of 3, something like that. Let's give a padding for this, maybe 5. Okay, so right now let's create a form for this, and then once it submits, let's use Apollo client and send the mutation. And this is going to be of type submit, and let's say on submit we want to run a function, but right now we don't have any function. So let's create a function, submit form, which is going to take the event, and we need the code here. So on submit, let's call the submit form function, and the same here. Even though the user presses enter or the button is clicked, we want to run that function. We want to submit the form basically. Let's also manage both of this state, const email and set email will be equals to use state. It's going to be initially empty string. I'll also put set message and the message. Let's give the value to be email, and on change you want to set it to be e.target.value, the same thing that we want to the text area as well. Okay, let's say message. I'm just going pretty fast on this basic state management, so we can get started with the Apollo client and stuff. So right now we have managed all the state, everything is kept in sync and stuff. So right now let's create the queries or the mutation, and then let's call it using Apollo client. So let's say it will return an array. So it's a use mutation. It's going to import it from React hooks, Apollo/React hooks, the same thing that we used in order to import Apollo provider. This is a hook. So use mutation, and we have to pass in a mutation that we want to run. So let's create a folder or a file basically, because we only have one mutation. Let's export const, and the name of the mutation is send email. We also need GQL, which is also from React hooks, and we need to pass in the mutation string. So this is basically what we typed out in GraphQL Playground when we were doing the backend. So I'll say mutation send email. We'll need an input argument, which is going to be send email input, or it's going to be email input, I guess. If I go to resolvers or type definitions, it's going to be email input, and I'll call send email, which requires input as an argument, and we'll pass the input variable that we created. And let's open this up, and the variables that we need, the data that we need is success. In case if it's success, we need a message or the error. So this is exactly what we need, and the query is exported. So we could use this query like this. It's same thing that we did in GraphQL Playground, but we are defining it in code, and then we are using it through Apollo's hook, which is use mutation. So right here we can say send email, which is going to import that for us, and this is going to return us a function, and then the data and the loading state, and if there is any error. So the function is going to be send email, and then we're going to get 3 separate arguments, which are going to be the data, the loading state, and the error. So basically, once the person clicks on submit form, we just want to check if email.length is not equals to 0, and basically it should be this and message dot length is not equals to 0. Then we want to run this function send email, and we have to pass one thing, which is variables, and the variables that we need is from, which is going to be the email, and the message will be equal to the message that the user sent in. So this check is a basic checking that if the inputs are this have something. Let's just put input type equals email. Let's make this required. So as this is a form, it will actually restrict the user to have something in there, and it should be a valid email. So that is done. Right here we can do some loading stuff here. So if it's loading, we want to say loading, and sorry guys, if it's not, then we want to put submit form. I also want to make this button disabled if it's loading, or if there is if it's loading. In case if there is an error, we want to alert the user saying error, and then console.log the error. And if it's loading, we can just say loading. You can just put a text in there. So right now, okay, there's one thing that we missed, is to prevent default. Basically we don't want the browser to refresh once the button or the form is submitted. So right now that is done. So at this point the error is also handled and loading is also handled. At that point we have access to the data. Let's console.log that. Let's go here. I'm not sure why that error came up. Should be because I did this. It's okay, fine. Let me open this up right next to it. So open down the console. I'll enter Shanjai Gmail. I'll just enter a valid email. Submit form. It's gonna say loading. Okay, there is an error. Okay, it should be input, and then you should put the from and the message. And check it now. Message, submit form. Basically now it should work. Okay, we're getting success true and everything is working perfectly. Let's also go ahead and let me just take it aside. Let's go to Gmail and check if I got an email sending it to my dev account. Let's check that. So if I go here, so ASD, which is a message I'm getting. I'm gonna say test. Go here, I should be getting another email. Test. Okay guys, so this is basically how you integrate with Apollo client, Apollo server, GraphQL, Node.js, all of this stuff. So this was a very basic tutorial, but we were able to learn, there were some errors and we were able to figure that out, what those errors were. Hope you guys also did like this video, learned some stuff from it, how to integrate this stuff, and let me know if you guys did enjoy it, did like this video. Maybe if there's any video you guys want me to make, let me know down in the comments. That's about it guys. If you guys did enjoy this series, make sure to leave a like on this video. The entire code will be available on GitHub right down in the description down below. So if you guys have any errors or stuff, any questions, you guys can go ahead and check it there. And I hope you guys basically enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching guys. Please subscribe to my channel, it will be really helpful. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.